In this immigration update, I want to talk about the Immigration Health Surcharge, which has recently been announced by the government, which makes temporary migrants pay for NHS treatment effectively in advance. This doesn't apply to EEA nationals, and it doesn't apply to those making applications for visit visas, although the government are putting forward proposals that visitors will have to pay at a premium at 150% of the cost of their treatment. It also doesn't apply to those applying for ILR. It does apply to applications for entry clearance or leave to remain on or after the 6th of April 2015. And what applicants will have to do is go online, pay the surcharge, and then they get an Immigration Health Surcharge reference number, which they'll have to include in their application form to show that they've paid. If you don't give that reference number, if you're inside the UK, you'll be given 10 days to provide one, or outside the UK, 7 days. And if you don't provide one, your application will be refused. What's the cost of the surcharge? Well, it's worked out on the basis of how long you're applying for. So there's yearly rates of £150 for students, £200 for others. So for example, if you're applying under Appendix FM for 2.5 years, the cost would be some £500. If your application is refused, you'll get a refund. If you get leave and it's not the full amount that you applied for, you get a shorter amount of leave, you may get a partial refund. If you come and don't use the NHS, you won't get a refund. Now, there are certain people who still need an Immigration Health Surcharge reference number, but exempt from payment. Let me read you those. If you're applying for a Tier 2 intercompany transfer, if you're a child under 18 who's been taken into care, if you're a national of Australia or New Zealand, dependent of a member of the UK Armed Forces, dependent of a member of another country's armed forces who are exempt from immigration control, or a civilian employee for NATO or the Australian Department of Defence, you need an IHS reference number, but you're exempt from payment in those categories. There are certain categories who don't have to pay or don't even have to get a number. They're those who are applying for a visit visa, those who are applying for ILR, a diplomat or visiting armed forces and not subject to immigration control, family member of a European national with treaty rights. If you're applying for a visa for the Isle of Man or the Channel Islands, it doesn't apply. If you're a British Overseas Territory citizen resident in the Falkland Islands, you're an asylum seeker or applying for humanitarian protection, you've been identified as a victim of trafficking, you're applying under the DV concession, or you're making an application for leave on the basis of Article 3. So in those circumstances, it doesn't apply to you. You don't have to pay, and you don't even have to get an IHS reference number. So practitioners need to be aware that before they make an application, does your client need to pay the surcharge? Make sure that's done in advance, or it could lead to a mandatory refusal. We've also seen fees for applications gone up recently, so this is going to significantly increase the cost of making an application, making it more difficult for clients to make applications. I'd encourage you to have a look at the guidance online, which will tell you if you need to pay and how much the cost will be. Thanks a lot.